Belirsizliğe hazırlanmak, sektörler İstanbul...
Getting ready for uncertainty, and you are welcome to our introduction event for how ready Istanbul is for earthquake. Turkey is in the earthquake zone, so it should be our priority. In the short time, we had flood, earthquake, or fire, which caused so many injuries and loss. And after the big earthquake in 1990, it was 23 years. Today, when we look at are you ready for earthquake in Istanbul, 1.2 million of building stock. How high is the earthquake risk? 7.5 magnitude. A possible earthquake afterwards, when we look at the building stock in Istanbul, according to the research, 194,000 high and 48,000 is heavy casualties, and these are from a requires multi-size and multi-aspect research and preparation. How the report of how the industries are ready for Istanbul with Turkonfet and TÜSİAD collaboration and with the support of UPS and Afyonkarahisar University from Economy Department, that Associate Professor Tiryakioğlu has written. We thank him. The report has been taken based as 5 sectors. As a journalist, in the 1999, both in Gölcük, Yalova, and there, in Düzce and Van, I worked day and night. As a person, I'm very well experienced, unfortunately, how we should be ready for disasters and how preparations are important. We have seen. Therefore, for the report, I would like to thank, because it has been prepared, taken basis of the 5 industries which are critical: energy, IT, communication, transportation, logistics, agriculture, food, insurance, and finance. 5 industries were taken as basis in the disasters such as fire, earthquake, or flood. The report also complementary for the other reports, and in the report what can be done for the industries, what kind of preparations, where is the vulnerabilities, and with what methods it can be removed, how they can be removed, and for the future of the industry, how possible it is. So we will have a wide perspective. We will look at them. Of course, getting preparation should be our preparation. We would like to thank everyone for this precious report, and then in the details we will be listening by the Associate Prof. Tiryakioğlu, and before that we will have opening remarks. Who contributed to report will be with us: Simona Kaslowski, Orhan Tural from Turkonfet, and Burak Kılıç from UPS, General Director. And we start with Simona Kaslowski. He is the chair of TÜSİAD board. This report has been concluded with your support. Please go for the details. Good morning, everyone, distinguished presidents and guests and press members. I welcome you on behalf of myself and TÜSİAD board today for our country and for our economy. Istanbul is central. So regarding the earthquake topic, we are with you. Distinguished guests, in the world and in our country, unfortunately, vulnerabilities increases more, and we have the aggression of Russia, which is unacceptable against Ukraine territory. It's a humanitarian crisis and general increase of the risks. Energy, supply, and food security are important topics as well. And along with all these vulnerabilities, if it happens, which will shake our economy and also cause social trauma, which is the earthquake. both in the world and in the world, the vulnerabilities and risks are always there and continue to be there. And it's up to your scientific measures as to how your country will be affected. And therefore, some countries having similar threats, for some the price is high, some for low. And the earthquake and the risk to be brought between are very critical, not to be ignored. It's geological and it cannot be prevented. However, the damages can be reduced with the measures or even prevented. In 1990 Gölcük earthquake and then Elazığ earthquakes and the agency earthquakes shows the traumatic results when you have not enough measures. And the social trauma, to be made better in the shortest time, we need a strong economic structure and within coordinations, and we need strong building stocks. And every preparation before the earthquake, it can contribute to normalization after the earthquake. And here may be something we should focus. During the pandemic, this transformation made us more experienced in certain fields. And this is also important contribution for the industries. Distinguished case of the Istanbul earthquake is expected 7.5, and it will make more than 149,000 high and 49,000 heavy damages. And the private sector before the earthquake and during the earthquake in meeting the main needs, they are critical. And this makes we need to take consideration this earthquake holistically as TÜSİAD. In order to keep this always and regarding the readiness of the making good examples and to share, we establish earthquake task force. And under the leadership of Batu Aksoy, with the contribution of our members, we are working cooperation of TÜSİAD and Türkfonfet and SEDEF coordination and support of the UAPS Foundation. The capacity and in order to understand capacity and vulnerability of the private sector, we made numerous workshops. In today's report, in the expected Istanbul earthquake, 5 critical industries: energy, IT, communication technologies, transportation and logistics, agricultural, food, and insurance industries. These 5 critical sectors are affecting each other and they should be improved together. And after the earthquake, the lack of communication and also lack of logistic activities and also disrupt in food chain and slow and difficult compensation can increase social trauma and shake down our economy. Therefore, in the 5 industries which are critical both within them and their coordination and holistic action plans are vital. This collaboration is not only for and within the industries, but also the central authority, local authority, and also the private sector. Distinguished guest is TÜSİAD in our 50th anniversary last year for the future of our country, the report of making our country ready for future. Human science and institutions are pillars of development. Against the threats, we should go off the way of science. When we get ready quickly, then when the disasters happens, our level of disruption will be lesser. And in this report, as we highlighted, first, getting ready to earthquake and other disasters, all the stakeholders should act in coordination, and necessary preparation should be completed in urban transformation in the shortest time, with the objective of the green and smart cities and the source efficiency and the environmental regulations and the urban transformation process can be integrated. These regulations, along with the earthquake, for disasters such as flood. While I end my words today by coordinating our workshop, I would like to thank Murat Tiryakioğlu and all the participants supporting to workshops and you distinguished guests contributing today for us. The topic of getting ready to earthquake should be a priority of the private sector, and we should act quickly for the steps to be taken. Thank you, distinguished TÜSİAD Chair, Mr. Simone, and to Mr. Orhan Turan, the Chair of the Board of TÜRKONFET, please. Thank you, Mrs. Ilgaz, distinguished guests. On behalf of TÜRKONFET Board, I welcome you all. The collaboration of TÜRKONFET and TÜSİAD and support of the UPS, getting ready our industries, we are working for that. Last year, in the 17th of August, there were 5 critical industries and 3 important strategic steps. And today, in the Great Marmara earthquake, in particular Istanbul, these 5 industries which are critical: energy, IT, transportation, logistics, food and agriculture, and insurance and finance industries, the fields that they need to be improved. And we will share our second report. All of you, you are all welcome to our online activity. Distinguished guests, earthquake is undeniable truth of our life. The first registered earthquake, 1170 before Christ in China. Since then, along with other natural disasters, we continued our development in fight with it, and it continues. And for the next generation, we are always with the earthquakes. From Ottomans to Republic, we had hundreds of earthquake disasters. Being aware of it, living with the earthquake, and the power to fight with it is this understanding, because the earthquake, if you take it only with believing in destiny, then it can shadow the fact that we can prevent the damaging outputs. In Turkey's one of the biggest earthquake disaster was in 90 earthquake. We lost 20,000 people, more than 30,000 enterprises lost, and we still have the trace of those losses. With its pain and trauma ongoing in the next 23 years, the new and disruptive results of the expected Marmara earthquake or considering is no less but increasing. Many science people, after 99 earthquake, they said there will be another earthquake in 30 years with a magnitude of 7.5, which is 70%. And of this time, 23 years, we have lost our time with just discussions, and we have only 7 years left to prepare. So how did we use that 23 years, and what is the conditions of the remaining 7 years? Unfortunately, not a positive result in urban transformation, in the construction of building resistant to earthquake. We are not in a good position. The earthquake will harm buildings, road, hospitals, IT, and communication systems. There will be high risks on them. And humanitarian and socio-economic source in Marmara cause great concern. 80% of our population and 83% is in 30 big cities of Turkey. According to Statistic Office, 19% of Turkey lives in Istanbul, and of the GDP, 30% is created in this mega city of Istanbul. To get ready to uncertainty, therefore, it is a national issue. Distinguished guests, the global problems requires unique solution and collaborations. In Turkey, in global national disasters and crises, people expect the state to help, but this assurance misleads us. Of course, the governments have their responsibility to respond. However, the local communities and the private sectors have also responsibility to help the individuals to overcome the shocks. In the national and international supply chain, the companies not focus on their own operational resilience, but also they share this with public in their own market and supply chain resistance they invest on. So within this direction, in Turkey, the perception that the state will come to aid should change, and all the stakeholders should embrace and work on their own risk, because the strategical partnership and within this concept, the resilience perception of the private sector and shared responsibility should be one of the priorities, and to make these get ready for the uncertainties, we need to prepare new collaborations. Every institutions should have the disaster and earthquake strategy, and the relevant public and private sector collaboration capacity is important. As the prominent NGOs of Turkish business community, we are here to provide unique solutions, and within the industries, the importance is one of the joint energy industry effects, and IT and communication affects logistics, and logistics affects food and agriculture. So there is a chain. A chain is strong as every circle. In order to improve it, we need to have multi-stakeholders. And one of the other outputs the SME's disaster awareness and is very low. Approximately 30% only have the insurance policy. They have less ratio to make the regular risk. So we should improve the resilience of the SMEs and reducing the risks and fast improvement of the economy are important than ever. This result requires a collective collaboration, and the company-based roadmaps should be feasible and easy. We need to design the making it easy guidelines. Distinguished guests, 30 federation and 286 association and more than 50,000 companies. Turkey's most comprehensive business world NGO, globalization, competition, comprehensive SMEs and female vision. In the last 5 years, the crisis management also added, and it is our main strategy now. And in order to improve, we are aware that we have a role in improving our role and improving socio-economic awareness. We will work harder. And the report within this vision, 3.3 million SMEs and more than 800,000 big companies works for improving their we will reach success by improving our dreams. We would like to thank our partners TÜSİAD, SFET and UPS Foundation and CPI, and also Associate Professor Murat Tiryakioğlu, who contributed a lot to our report. We thank Mr. Orhan Turan, the chair of Türkonfet, as to how ready should the SMEs. This report is very important. And now UPS, in preparation of this report, named how the industries are ready for the Istanbul earthquake. Burak Kılıç will be make opening speech. Thank you, Mrs. Ilgaz. Everyone, welcome. Distinguished Chair, Mr. Simone. I would like to thank not only Istanbul, but for the future of our country. One of the biggest risks is Istanbul earthquake. Economic, social, and how big city center Istanbul is unnecessary to be told. And distinguished presidents share many numbers. Istanbul is really the engine of Turkish economy, and unfortunately facing an inevitable earthquake. What we see is UPS serving all around the world, the biggest logistic company in the world, in the countries we live in. The risks of the economy, we are trying to improve the awareness, and we are trying to be in collaboration. Today, with the help of this report, we hope that it will be a reference and of the industries, companies, institutions for making their own guidelines. It will be a reference report. Unfortunately, we see that, like President Orhan said, the SMEs are not ready to any disaster. In Istanbul, 83% of the SMEs unfortunately, even doesn't see the earthquake as a risk. And in our country, the average life of SMEs is 5 years, and them being not ready to these kind of risks, unfortunately, cause they are damaged the most. Within this scope, in this report, with Turconfed and TÜSİAD family, with the signing of this, hopefully in the next period, all the stakeholders will be able to continue with this reference point: energy, knowledge, logistic, agriculture, and finance industries, having all these and showing different communication and interaction talks, how updated it is, will be teaching us. And we hope that with this report, our country is where they are making the preparation, and hopefully we will have chance to get ready for that. Within this opportunity, I would like to thank Turconfed family, TÜSİAD family, SEDEF and Business Community for Goals family, and distinguished lecturer Murat Tiryakioğlu and two academic staff. We hope that this report will be a starting this can be, or this could be only working if it is sustainable. With this report, I hope that outputs of the report will be realized every month, every quarter. Thank you for your contribution. Now the floor is yours. Thank you so much, UPS Turkey General Director Burak Kılıç. And there are many reports, and following them and getting action and to make it sustainable, it's very valuable. We thank you for your contribution. And now for the opening speech has been completed. Now we will have our guest speaker, Flori Risa Neri, will be with us now.
Evet, yayınımız devam ediyor. Sayın Florin Riza Neri bizi bekliyor. OÇA UNDP Connected Business Initiative Network koordinasyon uzmanı. Buyurun lütfen, sizi dinliyoruz.
Thank you very much, Ilgaz. Mr. Simone Keslowski, Chairman of the Executive Board of TÜSİAD, Mr. Orhan Turan, Chairman of the Executive Board of Turconfed, Mr. Burak Kılıç, Country Manager of UPS Turkey, guests, ladies and gentlemen, günaydın. I am very grateful to be invited to your event today for the launch of the earthquake report for Istanbul about what we do, and I'm happy to be here to talk about what we do at the Connecting Business Initiative, how we support private sector networks like TÜSİAD and Turconfed when it comes to preparing for and recovering from disasters, and to share with you examples of best practices from private sector networks that work in earthquake preparedness and recovery, or how they prepare for and recovered from their own big one scenarios. Because we have seen that disasters do not stop even during the pandemic. And COVID-19 showed us that we need a whole of society approach in dealing with complex and large-scale disasters, such as a major earthquake. We believe that the private sector is an important partner in disaster and climate resilience. With their capacities, resources, and networks, the business community can work with the government and humanitarian and development partners to ensure that communities and livelihoods are better prepared and are able to respond and recover from disasters. Now, because working with the private sector is a win-win proposition. After all, businesses of all sizes are themselves affected by crises, and they play a critical role in providing livelihoods for the most vulnerable people and in preserving stability for the communities in which they operate in. It's for these reasons that the United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, or OCHA, and the United Nations Development Program, or UNDP, together launched the Connecting Business Initiative, or CBI, at the World Humanitarian Summit in 2016, which was held here in Istanbul. This was following intensive consultations around the world with more than 900 companies. CBI is dedicated to strategically engaging with the private sector before, during, and after emergencies. CBI works directly with private sector networks, or CBI member networks, at the country level. And currently we have 13 member networks all around the world. And these member networks represent more than 4,000 individual businesses, associations, and federations. And because most of these networks are national chambers or industry federations, they also provide access to more than 40,000 micro, small, medium-sized enterprises, or MSMEs. Here in Turkey, the CBI network is led by Turkenfed and the Business for Goals platform, of which TUSIAD is a founding partner. Since the launch at the World Humanitarian Summit in 2016, CBI and the member networks have responded to more than 100 disasters, ranging from tropical cyclones, major earthquakes, and volcanic eruption to complex emergencies involving armed conflict, violence, and displacement. Through different response activities, the member networks have helped over 18 million people and mobilized more than 84 million US dollars. Working with their member companies, government partners, and with the UN, CBI member networks engage by joining damage and needs assessments, consolidating information on private sector response contributions, and by mobilizing relief efforts to serve the most affected communities. These accomplishments show the diversity of approaches and engagement of the different business networks in disaster risk management and crisis coordination, and illustrate the benefit of collective private sector action. Here in Turkey, we are proud to support Turkenfed, TUSIAD, and the Business for Goals platform in their efforts to enhance the capacity of the Turkish business community to prepare for, withstand, and recover from major disasters such as earthquakes and even from the impacts of climate change. Early last year, CBI Turkey, with the support of the UPS Foundation, trained small and medium enterprises in Izmir on preparing their emergency action plans and developing business recovery strategies after the Izmir earthquake. They also worked on a study of the impacts of COVID-19 on women entrepreneurs and co-organized a webinar to share best practices from Turkey on promoting gender-inclusive practices in the private sector. Last October, CBI Turkey launched the Business Climate Resilience Project, which aims to facilitate multi-stakeholder discussions and to develop a working group for knowledge exchange and coordination on business and climate resilience. CBI will continue to support TUSIAD, Turkenfed, and the Business for Goals platform through training programs and research initiatives aimed at enhancing the capacity of the Turkish business community to be better prepared and be able to recover faster from disasters and to facilitate dialogue and connections with other national and global actors, particularly for knowledge exchange, because we know how valuable it is to learn from other business networks who are also in the same situation as you are in preparing for a large-scale earthquake scenario. We have seen how CBI member networks, for example, in Mexico, in Haiti, and in the Philippines, countries which are highly exposed to earthquakes, were able to mobilize private sector support for earthquake response, recovery, and also advocate better for the inclusion of the private sector in preparedness planning. For example, the CBI member network in Mexico, the National Center for Epidemiological Emergencies and Disasters, or CENACED, developed and managed an online platform to monitor reconstruction programs after the 2017 Puebla earthquake, which was a strong magnitude 7.1 earthquake that had claimed the lives of 370 people. Even after the major earthquake, they continued to work with the government and humanitarian and development partners when it comes to shelter reconstruction. On August 14, 2021, a magnitude 7.2 earthquake struck the Tiburon Peninsula in the Caribbean nation of Haiti. Based on several lessons learned from previous disasters, private sector's response has sometimes been uncoordinated, and local Haitian companies have often been left out in the procurement of local goods for emergency relief. As a member of the National Emergency Operations Center, the Alliance for Risk Management and Business Continuity, or AJERCA, the CBI member network in Haiti participated in national emergency coordination meetings. They supported the General Directorate of Civil Protection in coordinating the response of the private sector, civil society, and the Haitian diaspora. Following a request from the government, AJERCA provided phone credits to support information management and coordination. And AJERCA immediately started to map local private sector resources and capacities that can be mobilized to support disaster relief in cooperation with its member companies. In addition to financial contributions, AJERCA member companies and their partners made in-kind donation of critical items such as gallons of potable water, clothes, and solar-powered refrigerators. AJERCA and its member companies conducted also an analysis of what supplies are available locally to ensure that contributions are addressing identified gaps. And they also launched a campaign advocating for the local procurement to help Haitian businesses during the emergency. And lastly, we have the CBI member network in the Philippines. The Philippine Disaster Resilience Foundation, or PDRF, is the country's major coordinator of private sector efforts in disaster management. PDRF runs one of the world's first business emergency operations center. Similar to Turkey, the Philippines also has what we call the big one scenario, or the magnitude 7.1 scenario that will impact the country's national capital region. In order to prepare for the big one scenario, PDRF worked with the Ministry of Energy and with the private sector players in the power, fuel, and energy sectors to develop what they call a national energy contingency plan that will ensure multi-sectoral preparedness, response, and recovery measures for the energy sector. PDRF also conducts simulation exercises such as field logistics exercises with partners and regularly implements business continuity planning and family preparedness training for the employees of their member companies, because they know that the ability of the business community to quickly recover lies in the preparedness capacity of each and individual employee and their families. So with these examples from other CBI member networks in Mexico, Haiti, and the Philippines, I hope that we were able to share ideas on how we might be able to continue supporting the Turkish business community in being better prepared for your own big one scenario. While the contexts and mechanisms are definitely different, these examples highlight the critical role of the business community. And at CBI, or the Connecting Business Initiative, our message has always been the same, that disaster resilience makes business sense, and that working with the private sector, with private sector networks such as TUSIAD and Turkunfed, is critical when it comes to promoting agility, innovation, and collaboration that are needed to better improve how we prepare for, respond, and recover from disasters. Again, congratulations on the launch of the Istanbul Earthquake Report, and I do hope that this will bring valuable lessons as we prepare for Turkey's Big One scenario. Teşekkürler.
Rizaneri'ye dünyada
We thank Florin Rizaneri. She shared in details with us. Now the presentation of the report, how the industries are ready to Istanbul earthquake, will be presented by Associate Professor Murat Tiryakioğlu. We will be with you in a while.
Tekrar merhaba. Bu kez raporun sunumuna geçiyoruz.
Welcome again. Now presentation of the report. Associate Professor Murat Tiryakioğlu from Afyonkarahisar University. We welcome him. Hello, you wrote this? Yes, thank you. We know you very closely. You have studies, books regarding disaster management to improve disaster awareness, and I had the chance to read it, and it's in details, but we would like to listen from you. Thank you, Mrs. Ilgaz. I also would like to thank all the participants. First of all, I would like to thank TÜSİAD and Turkunfed. It's always in the agenda and making it updated in the organizational process. Also, we work closely with TÜSİAD and Platform of Goals for Business. Therefore, I would like to thank everyone for their contribution. And to Betül Soysal and Sabah Yağcı, in preparation of these reports, they had valuable contribution, and we had this study. The report actually, like the presidents and the speakers mentioned, focused on 5 sectors, and it's a continuation of a comprehensive study, but as the sectors it is focused on in the World Economic Forum every year with the studies and with the reports, the risks in the global level, it shows us. And when we look at the climate and the natural disasters, are mostly in this risk. Among the top 10 risks, 5 of them are these. Therefore, the risk distribution in the world also covers Turkey and developing countries. And when you think high vulnerability of these countries, these figures can increase. On one hand, the increasing vulnerabilities, the climate crisis getting severe, and all the time in addition to the earthquakes in last few years, which affects everything from social life to economy, affecting and changing the world. A pandemic we can talk about. And as I mentioned, all these crises and the disasters, first of all, and unfortunately, are impacting the middle and low income countries and groups living there. Actually, the pandemic, in this graphic, you can see its impact on the income groups. So it's a world economy when there is inequalities. In order to make sustainable, on the other hand, the disasters with increasing severity, we should be ready for them as well. And for Turkey's geopolitical truth described in detail and reported by AFAD and shared with Turkish community. It's continuing to be worked on. This geological truth, this earthquake risk map, the country situation regarding the earthquake. Actually, on this map, in the recent years, there is the drought map. When you put it, the imbalance of the rains and the climate-based disasters maps, when we put them, the vulnerability of the country is multifaceted. And Turkey, during the history, here only the magnitude 7 or over. Some of them are shown, unfortunately, the loss of life. We should highlight this. These life losses are official figures. The real casualties, unfortunately, we don't know. In huge earthquakes, as the rescue teams, until they come there, people bury their deaths. And in 13th of October 2020, more than 1,000 people, we lost thousands affected by a huge earthquake in Izmir. And for business community and for all the actors, it is a warning and reminder. In our studies, the representatives within the business world have similar feedbacks, which we will be sharing in a while. Economically, actually, when I look at the national facts, unfortunately, as an agriculture country, the share of agriculture in GDP in the last 25 years, 6 to 11%. And in the recent times, it was mentioned with the drought and the product pattern and seasons are affected as well, and increasing fuel oil prices, electricity prices, and also it's getting more difficult is getting, for long years, when we look at the average, the share of the industry is 25% and 70%. However, industry, pandemic economy is important in the share of agriculture. The shrink in the agriculture is now, when evaluated altogether, there is a serious food inflation. In the report, the 5 selected industries, energy, IT, logistics, food and agriculture, and insurance and finance industry. In the energy sector, jointly, like Mr. Orhan mentioned very well, the process of getting affected for energy, it's very critical for all the process. Unfortunately, for 3 days, they couldn't have electricity. So how we can get, and we share this power cut, unfortunately, put forward the agenda of fossil fuels, and especially Istanbul and along with Istanbul or Marmara regions will be impacted seriously, and we hope that we will never have it. However, this is the earthquake, and for a long time it will cause blackouts, and on one side is the huge fires, and equipments which are needed, unfortunately, so when the IT communication is harmed, it harms everything. It comes to logistics and the critical importance, and it's focusing all road and drivers and IT sector in order to continue for mobile base stations.
Ve temel yaşamsal ihtiyaçların karşılanması noktasında sektör iklim krizinin de ortaya koyduğu kırılganlıklarla birlikte gittikçe artan bir öneme sahip. Sigorta ve finans sektörü dediğimizde de
when we talk about the insurance and finance industry, it covers them all, and it covers the risk because the measures to be taken before increasing insurance and possible losses during the disaster or normalization after. When we make the industry-based, and regarding these studies, I will share an information. 5 workshop was made in the summertime, and generally we would like to thank the stakeholders for their time. I hope they listen to, at the moment, the information and application with this report. I hope they do it because it's with their contribution in the report. the critical importance of the industry, and from the sector with the best of studies, there is a section during the pandemic. Distinguished president mentioned during the pandemic, especially against the disaster, it has been an enhancing concept. Also, a change in the business conducting ways brought. Actually, it is a change of the perception and also the capacity to get ready for disasters. It reminded us. Along with that, the good examples, vulnerabilities, and the possible way to look is made for every industries. And as I mentioned, in the energy sector, it's very critical. It affects all the activities of other industries. Along with that, there are some risks associated with them. It has the potential. Therefore, at this point, the energy industry is very important. During the pandemic, the energy industry, especially in the household energy demand increase, it is being transformed. On the other hand, for the business world, for the disaster management, unfortunately, it is a bad reminder. However, in the many industry representatives, after agency, earthquake, it has been talked more. On one hand, regarding the low carbon economy, demands are increasing despite the pandemic. On the other hand, especially in the touristic places, the population increased. And as the winter population is high, it forces to preparation capacity, and as sector, we have an awareness. The energy transportation lines, if they are on the fault lines, many studies are being made. And this report, during the workshop, we had chance to listen to nice things. And in this report regarding these 5 industries, valuable feedbacks from the business world, we gave good examples, and Mrs. Rezaneri mentioned the business community to learn from each other. So we would like to give examples of these good examples in the reports, especially the technical part of improvement. There is the local data is not enough, and the foreign knowledge, due to geographical values, it cannot always fit. So at this point, we have a serious study. iGas company provided a technical information effort for improvement, and by making practices, they provide an infrastructure within the sector. A very good example by Turkaz Enerji, and also we talk with their corporate communication director, Mrs. Seda, especially during this pandemic, people continue to work home. We hit this Izmir and Aegean earthquake. It was the situation. Children were at home, people were at home. Therefore, both houses and as the residents and also the secret of the family with the motto of first human. They have taken into their agenda for every employee. They give the disaster backpack both for houses and Siemens again in the industry, in many industries. We have chance to listen them in the energy efficiency. On one hand, technical infrastructure, on the other hand, the rescue and in protocol with AFAD for Istanbul and Sakarya. They are getting for these kind of beautiful examples in during the disaster management makes us happy. So what is the situation in industries? Against the possible problems in distribution lines, there should be an enhancement. On the other hand, the energy industry mentions that those plans are not feasible and it is important to invest in IT industry or more comprehensive and modern industries. And of course, within the industry, with the central governments, unfortunately, in the energy industry, the situation is that this collaboration is not well developed between industries, and IT technologies have been improved during pandemic, like in this meeting. Many meetings, activities are now in digital, and this one hand hastened and at this point, a serious business community and infrastructure, it has been a learning curve. It is set by the stakeholders of the industry, what focused by this industry, and most possibly for a big earthquake to be possible in Istanbul, which is critical, the bus stations and the buildings where the bus stations and they are being strengthened, and the strengthening of the best stations or putting in the new buildings will reduce these kind of risks. We have 3 mobile service providers. We listen to them, especially both Vodafone and Türk Telekom, their research and rescue teams. Again, Turkey has serious infrastructure works and also for their personnel and the capacity on the field. Vodafone especially important studies, and like in the energy sector, they are important in the IT sector. When we look at the industrial breakdown, especially fixed base stations and the mobile base stations are not enough working. On the other hand, as it's technology-intense industry, capacity increasing has high cost, like in the energy sector. On the other hand, of course, this grid structure In case there is the energy cuts, this sector's activities can be harmed. On the other hand, it comes to the industry, transportation and logistics, the mobile base stations affected by the disasters. In order to deliver them, the importance of the roads and viaducts and bridges and the transportation and logistics worked very hard during the pandemic, but only actually their activities for passenger transportation stopped. There is a strong dynamism there, really. Both the Association of the International shows that the awareness of the transportation sector is high and the dynamic capacity is high, and they have a high dynamic roles, it showed us. And of these multitasks, we should highlight, unfortunately, in the Marmara earthquake and in the Gölcük earthquake, the lorries with cold infrastructure helped people, and for sheltering big lorries, and the caches of the lorries were used, and also the medical teams and rescue teams were prominent. However, the biggest problem of the industry is, in particular to Istanbul, in the master plan, they don't give space to logistics, and it is very critical. On the other hand, the industry highlights that during the pandemic, especially for drivers who are middle-aged, they need drivers and roads. When they have drivers and roads, the logistics sector will facilitate this process of Turkey, they say. And especially regarding the storage, there is a intermingled structure is very risky and increasing unit cost of the cars. When it comes to agriculture and food, when there is the panic purchase, stock purchase is very high. There's such an industry, especially regarding the retail. It's hard to make stock management. However, the industry in these emergency, on one hand, we see they focus on emergencies and disasters. Also, they say there is a high potential for collaboration and capacity. With Migros and Metro, we have nice examples we should mention. By the way, I mentioned the International Transportation Association, both in Marmara earthquake, they have very strong works. In discussion with them in details, there is a frame which we have completed. And in agriculture, the Migros channels, their applications, practices, and the stores, their earthquake preparation containers, where there are the equipments and also the personnel trained to use those equipments. So a structure, an example, we hope to make it more. For agriculture and food, the energy and logistics, the long-term energy losses can break the cold chain where the roads or bridges are affected, and it hampers the supply chain. On the other hand, the stores, distribution centers, storages, somehow they are aware of the disaster incoming. However, the fortification plans for them are not realistic and updated. We have listened to them. And in the food security, for example, during looting, is the vulnerable part of the industry. And just like in the logistics, the sectoral collaboration is high. However, both within the industry and within the industries, there should be a stronger collaboration. As we are about to end, I will give the final sector and give the floor to Mr. Ulgaz. Final sector was insurance and finance. It is very critical for risk management during the pandemics. It has an impact, especially COVID-19 and relevant risks change the policies very fastly, and it shows the dynamism of the industry. Social awareness, social awareness, both for the industry and for the investors, it is very important because the risk is very high on the public, and the way to overcome it is to increase the awareness of insurance importance, and it's also the damages and sales with the pandemic reduced. However, the data diversification should be improved and sparing. They make this replication from Istanbul. Allianz is pioneering. They have established a center, earthquake and fire training center. They give very nice trainings. So it will increase the capacity. Those trainings we can mention of Allianz in this exemplary work, both for the industry and also for the other industries related. It worked very nicely. So I know it as I followed. And AXA Sigortas, their mobile applications and gathering the risk area. So they have a nice practice for gathering people during risky times. And in these limited issues, due to time restriction, they are in details in the report for who wonders. And when we get to the vulnerabilities, unfortunately, especially the qualified experts are less, and most of those experts are living in Istanbul. So in an Istanbul earthquake, it's a huge risk that most of the experts are living in Istanbul for their lives and operational continuance. As the insured rate is low and high load on state, and they are not working in good collaboration, and the collaboration with the local authorities are low. These are listed by them. For example, after an earthquake, when you go to a quarter, 5 different houses are insured by 5 different companies, and one expert cannot make it. And to make this coordination, the local authorities have important duties. If we need to summarize in the sectoral level, we need some platforms, and I'm happy to work together with you, TÜSİAD, Türkonfet, and SEDEF. These kind of institutions have, with their studies, made a platform for us within the sectors, both the knowledge exchange. There is to overcome the grift risks, we need a series of platforms. This multi-stakeholder structure is the basis of earthquake or disaster management, and with the other companies as the learning base, this process should be continued. These are the titles. There is this route map. They are as we are out of time, I just wanted to summarize like this. Thank you for your patience. We thank you a lot, distinguished Associate Professor Tiryakioğlu. It was a very detailed report. Thank you for using time efficiently. Of course, our guests can reach this report. I would like to thank everyone. It should be our priority, and the studies are very important. In the closure, let's highlight who contributed with Türkonfet, TÜSİAD, SEDEPET, and HEDEFET business community, and also support of the UPS Foundation, and also distinguished Associate Professor Tiryakioğlu, and also there are some floods or other disasters, and 5 sectors: energy, IT, transportation, food, agriculture, insurance, and financial sectors are important in the industry. They have emergencies. The report is tried to be as fast as possible. It is important for getting action, and it should be followed up, and irrelevant institutions set in the continue. It will continue with different various workshops like before, and then this reporting and with the studies of next days, it will show us routes. I would like to report to everyone, and we thank the audience.